Every day felt calm and full of comforting routine, greeting enthusiastic students, organizing the neatly arranged bookshelves, and making sure each child found the right book to read. This library was my own world: warm hanging lights, towering wooden shelves filled with books from floor to ceiling, and the scent of old paper that always made me feel at peace. Children often sat on the red carpet in the middle of the room, flipping through picture books, laughing, and occasionally asking for reading recommendations. Everything seemed normal, happy, and safe. I felt this job was perfect. Every day I went home with a smile, carrying new stories I had read with the children, leaving behind a library that was quiet yet comforting. Nothing strange, nothing frightening. My life felt stable, peaceful, and safe. Yet behind those towering shelves, I always sensed something different, something I couldn't explain, though I always dismissed it, assuming it was just my imagination. Until one afternoon, when all the students had left and I was restocking a corner of the library, I heard the rustle of pages, as if a book were opening itself. At first, I thought it was just the wind coming through a window, but all the windows were tightly shut. I turned slowly. No one was in the room. The hanging light swayed slightly, even though I was sure I hadn't touched it. Then, from the very top shelf, a book fell right in front of me, open to a page filled with handwritten notes that looked old, yet somehow freshly written. My heart began to race. Something was off. It wasn't just a falling book. It felt like a message left for me. The message wasn't just about the school, but about the library itself, about the secrets hidden behind the rows of books I cleaned every day. I bent down and read the notes slowly. The words made my skin crawl. "I have always been watching you among these shelves. Do not look away." Suddenly, the tranquility I had felt for years vanished. The library, which had always felt safe, now seemed alive, and I knew something in there did not want me to leave. From that day on, I couldn't shake the strange feeling every time I was alone in the library. Every book I opened seemed to hold secrets waiting to be told. I began noticing small details: shelves that suddenly shifted position, faint footsteps echoing in the empty halls, and shadows moving between the stacks. I resolved to find the source of all these occurrences. My goal was clear. I had to uncover the library's secret before my curiosity turned into uncontrollable fear. Day by day, I collected clues. I marked the books that fell on their own, recorded every strange sound and movement. But the deeper I delved, the more obstacles appeared. Books that had been opened suddenly disappeared from the shelves. Lamps that I had draped with cloths suddenly lit on their own, casting a dim glow that highlighted my notes. One night, I dared to stay in the library after everyone had gone. I brought a small flashlight and a notebook. I began reading all the messages appearing on the pages of the fallen books. The more I read, the clearer it became that something wanted to be discovered. Something long hidden in this library, somehow connected to the school's history and the students who had once learned here. Yet curiosity began to turn into fear. Every creaking step I took on the wooden floor sounded louder. I felt the shelves closing in, blocking my way out, and the faint whisper grew clearer. "You're too close. Do not proceed." I realized one thing. To uncover this secret, I had to face something far greater than I had ever imagined. And there was no turning back now. That night, the library felt different. The wooden shelves I once knew seemed to form their own labyrinth, misleading my steps. The beam of my flashlight highlighted books that seemed to stare back at me. The whispers had transformed into clearer voices, almost like faint laughter of children, but colder, more demanding. I tried opening a book unlike the others, hoping to find answers, but all the pages were blank, except for faint writing that seemed to move as if freshly written. "If you want to know, choose one path and do not look back." My heart screamed to leave, but my curiosity, now fully consuming me, was too strong. I realized the only way to uncover this secret was to enter the oldest part of the library, the room that had always been locked, forbidden to anyone. With trembling hands, I found an old key hidden on a back shelf. Every step toward the ancient door felt like breaking through a living silence. As I opened the door, the scent of untouched old books wafted out, and shadows in the corners moved closer. I stood at the threshold, aware that this was my final choice: enter and face whatever waited inside, or turn back and never know the secret keeping the library alive. Fear gripped me, but something inside demanded answers. I took a deep breath and stepped in. The room was dark, lit only by the beam of my flashlight revealing dusty shelves filled with ancient books. But the further I stepped, the more I realized something that froze me. The shelves were not just shelves. They seemed to move on their own, slowly rotating, blocking my path, forming a circle that seemed to trap me inside. In the center of the room, I found an old table with a large open book. But as I approached, I saw a reflection on the table's surface, not my own, but the shadow of a small child standing behind me, staring with empty eyes. I turned quickly, and no one was there. Yet when I looked back at the book, the shadow now appeared on every open page, copying my every move. The whispers I had heard all this time became clear, right in my ear. You have been reading all this time, but now you are part of my story. My heart pounded. I realized that the library was not just a place of books, but a portal between reality and living stories, and I had been trapped inside one of them. Every fallen book, every moving shelf, even the faint footsteps I heard, were all part of this living world. I had no choice. I had to find a way out of this story before becoming a permanent part of the shadows waiting. And for the first time, I sensed that the answer lay on the last page of the large book. My hands shook as I opened the page. A map of the ancient library spread before me, with strange markings showing secret paths between the moving shelves. In the center of the map, a clear sentence read, "Follow the last light, and you will be free." I turned my flashlight brighter, following each step indicated on the map. The shelves that had seemed to mislead me now slowly opened a path, as if guiding me. The shadow of the child appeared again, but this time not frightening, merely pointing the way. I kept walking, each step heavy, but my resolve grew stronger. Finally, I saw a small hidden door in the corner of the room, glowing faintly from outside light. Holding my breath, I pushed it open and I was out. I stood in the familiar library hall, the warm hanging lights once again illuminating the room, the shelves now still, as if they had never moved on their own. All the whispers were gone, and I realized I had made it, escaped from the living story world. Yet I also knew one thing. This library held secrets deeper than I could ever see. I had survived, but the experience taught me that the world of books could be more alive than I had ever imagined. Since that night, I have never looked at the library the same way. The tall shelves and ancient books now feel full of mystery, but no longer frightening. I learned that every book holds its own life, stories waiting to be discovered, and sometimes those stories can invite us in if we are brave enough. I also learned an important lesson. Curiosity is a gift, but it must be accompanied by courage and caution. The world we consider safe and ordinary may hide secrets waiting to be uncovered, and when we find them, we can learn more about ourselves than we ever imagined. Now, every time I organize the shelves, I smile. I know this library is more than a place for books. It is a world full of life, mystery, and lessons ready for anyone brave enough to explore it. And I, Isabella Morgan, will always guard that secret, while still opening books for students who arrive with eyes full of curiosity, because every book, every story can become an adventure if we are brave enough to enter the world beyond its pages.